The morning sky over New Geneva burned with an alien light. What had been blue just hours before now glowed with the sickly yellow reflection of something vast hanging in Earth's orbit. President Maria Santos stood at the reinforced windows of the Global Defense Council chambers, watching as millions of people in the city below pointed their phones and cameras at the impossible sight above. The ship was larger than anything humanity had ever built. It stretched across the sky like a dark mountain, its crystalline hull catching and bending sunlight into unnatural patterns. The alien vessel had appeared without warning during the night, simply materializing in Earth's orbit as if space itself had opened to allow it passage. "How did they get past our detection systems?" General Harrison asked, his weathered face pale as he studied the tactical displays. Every screen in the room showed the same impossible readings. The alien ship registered no heat signature, no electromagnetic emissions, no gravitational disturbance. It existed undeniably real in the sky above them, yet their instruments insisted nothing was there. "They didn't get past them," Admiral Sarah Chen said quietly from her position near the door. "They made our systems irrelevant." She was a small woman with graying hair and sharp eyes that had seen too many classified briefings. "This is technology we can't understand, let alone defend against." Santos turned from the window as her aide burst through the security doors. "Madam President, they're requesting immediate communication. All global networks are receiving the same signal simultaneously." "Put it through," Santos ordered, settling into her chair at the head of the council table. Around her, the defense ministers and military leaders of Earth's unified government took their seats. They had less than 20 minutes to prepare for humanity's first official contact with an alien civilization. The main screen flickered to life, showing a figure that defied easy description. Ambassador Zethkari of the Veltar stood nearly 3 meters tall, its body composed of what appeared to be living crystal. Light moved through its translucent form in patterns that hurt to watch directly. When it spoke, the words came not through sound but directly into their minds. "Primitive species of the third planet." The voice resonated with cold authority. "I am Zethkari, speaker for the Galactic Hegemony. Your rapid technological advancement has been noted and deemed threatening to galactic stability." Santos found her voice despite the alien presence pressing against her thoughts. "I am President Santos of the United Earth Government. We welcome peaceful contact with other civilizations." The crystal being's form shifted, light pulsing through its body in what might have been amusement. "Peace is not why I am here, human. Your species has developed nuclear technology, spaceflight, and primitive artificial intelligence in a span that other civilizations required millennia to achieve. Such rapid growth indicates dangerous unpredictability." General Harrison leaned forward. "We pose no threat to anyone beyond our own system." "Incorrect," Zethkari replied immediately. "Historical analysis shows that species with your developmental pattern become aggressive expansionists within 3 to 5 centuries. The hegemony cannot permit this risk." Santos felt ice forming in her stomach. "What exactly are you saying?" "I bring an ultimatum from the 12 ruling species of the Galactic Hegemony," the ambassador announced. "Your species will submit to hegemony authority. You will accept technological limitations to prevent further dangerous advancement. You will provide tribute fleets to serve hegemony interests. In exchange, your species will be permitted to continue existing under our guidance." The chamber fell silent except for the quiet hum of electronics. Santos looked around the table at faces reflecting her own shock and growing anger. "And if we refuse?" Zethkari's crystalline form brightened. "Observe. Without any visible signal or weapon discharge, every orbital defense platform around Earth simply stopped functioning. Satellites went dark. The International Space Station's communications cut out. The massive railgun platforms that had taken decades to construct and position went silent in an instant. Your orbital defenses are now permanently disabled," the ambassador stated matter-of-factly. "This required no effort from my vessel. Our technology operates on principles your species lacks the capacity to comprehend." Admiral Chen's hands were clenched so tightly her knuckles had gone white, but her voice remained steady. "How long do we have to consider your offer?" 30 of your standard day cycles," Zethkari replied. "During this time, my vessel will remain in orbit as a reminder of the hegemony's reach. Other civilizations have required varying amounts of time to accept reality. The crystalline Zephyrians required only 5 cycles. The machine intelligence of Kepler 442 required the full 30 before submitting." "And if a species never submits?" Santos asked. The alien's form dimmed slightly. The hegemony has existed for 50,000 of your years. In that time, 17 species have chosen extinction over submission. Their worlds serve as monuments to the folly of resistance. President Santos stood, drawing on every ounce of diplomatic training she possessed. We need time to consult with our people. This decision affects every human being alive. Naturally, Zethkari agreed. However, understand that no appeal to other galactic powers will aid you. The hegemony's authority is absolute in this galaxy. No technology you might develop in 30 cycles could possibly threaten vessels that have perfected interstellar warfare for millennia. The communication ended abruptly, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. Through the windows, the alien ship continued to hang in the sky like a dark omen, occasionally visible through breaks in the clouds that seemed to part around its massive hull. Options, Santos said finally. Limited, General Harrison replied grimly. Our most powerful weapons couldn't scratch that thing, assuming we could even target it properly. Ground-based missiles, orbital platforms, even our theoretical antimatter warheads, none of it matters if they can disable our systems at will. What about evacuation? Defense Minister Okafor suggested. Get our population to other worlds. Preserve the species even if we lose Earth. Admiral Chen shook her head. They'd follow us. If they have ships like that, they can reach any world humans might settle. There's nowhere to run from technology that advanced. Santos looked around the table at the grim faces of Earth's leadership. So our choice is slavery or extinction. Those appear to be the only options they're offering, Chen agreed. Then almost too quietly to hear, she added, unless there are options they don't know about. The president caught the admiral's eye. Explain. Chen glanced around the room before speaking carefully. Madam President, there are certain classified programs that might require immediate activation. Programs that were designed for exactly this type of scenario. What kind of programs? The kind that officially don't exist, Chen replied. The kind that would require Protocol Lazarus authorization. Santos felt her pulse quicken. Protocol Lazarus was a theoretical contingency plan, something she'd been briefed on only once after taking office. It was supposed to be humanity's last resort against an existential threat that conventional military force couldn't address. Admiral, are you telling me that Protocol Lazarus is more than theoretical? Chen's expression remained carefully neutral. I'm telling you that some contingencies have been in development longer than most people know. With your permission, I'd like to make some very discreet inquiries. Santos looked out the window at the alien ship dominating the sky. Somewhere up there, Ambassador Zethkari was probably reporting to the galactic hegemony that another primitive species would soon join their collection of subjugated worlds. Make your inquiries, Admiral, Santos said quietly. But remember, we have 30 days to save our species. Don't waste them. As the meeting dispersed, Admiral Chen remained behind, already reaching for her secure communicator. Far above them, the alien vessel continued its silent vigil, unaware that deep in classified bunkers around the world, systems that had waited decades for activation were finally coming online. Admiral Sarah Chen descended through 7 levels of security beneath the Rocky Mountains, each checkpoint more secretive than the last. The final elevator required her genetic signature, retinal scan, and a code phrase that changed every 6 hours. When the doors opened, she stepped into a facility that officially did not exist. The Lazarus Command Center stretched out before her like something from a science fiction movie. Holographic displays showed star charts that extended far beyond Earth's solar system. Technicians in black uniforms worked at stations monitoring signals from across the galaxy. At the center of it all stood a massive 3-dimensional map, showing the positions of ships that weren't supposed to exist. Admiral on deck, called out Colonel James Wright, the facility's commanding officer. A tall man with cybernetic implants replacing his left eye and arm, Wright had been presumed dead in a training accident 5 years earlier. Status report, Colonel, Chen said, studying the display that showed over 200 small red dots scattered throughout the outer solar system. All Black Fleet vessels are operational and awaiting orders, Wright replied. We've been tracking the alien ship since it arrived. Interesting technology, but not as advanced as they want us to believe. Chen raised an eyebrow. Explain. Wright gestured to a technician at a nearby station. Show her the analysis, Martinez. Dr. Elena Martinez, supposedly killed in a research accident 3 years ago, brought up a detailed scan of the alien vessel. The ship uses some form of dimensional displacement for stealth, but it's not perfect. Our quantum sensors can detect the gravitational wake it leaves in folded space. More importantly, their weapon systems are energy-based, probably plasma or directed particle beams. That's significant because? Chen prompted. Because our metamaterial hull coating was designed specifically to counter energy weapons, Wright explained. Every Black Fleet ship is essentially immune to their primary offensive capabilities. Chen felt the first stirring of hope since the alien ultimatum. How long have we been preparing for this? Officially? We haven't, Wright smiled grimly. Unofficially, ever since we found the derelict ship in the Kuiper Belt 15 years ago. The discovery had been classified at the highest levels. A deep space mining operation had stumbled across the wreckage of a vessel that clearly hadn't been built by humans. The technology inside was centuries ahead of anything Earth possessed, but it was old, damaged and apparently abandoned for thousands of years. We reverse-engineered what we could, Martinez continued. Dark matter manipulation for faster-than-light travel, controlled singularity reactors for power, adaptive metamaterial armor, and most importantly, the folded space cloaking system. The aliens can't see us? Chen asked. Not with conventional sensors, Wright confirmed. Their technology appears to be based on energy manipulation and crystalline matrices. Our ships use dark matter and quantum mechanics. We're operating on completely different principles. Chen studied the star chart showing the positions of the Black Fleet. The ships were hidden in the shadows of Jupiter's moons, in the asteroid belt, and scattered throughout the outer planets. Each vessel was small compared to the alien dreadnought, but they were fast, heavily armed, and invisible. What's our tactical assessment? She asked. Colonel Wright called up a battle simulation. The alien ship is massive but slow. Their shields appear to be some form of crystalline energy barrier, probably impervious to conventional weapons. However, our analysis suggests they have never encountered kinetic penetrator rounds moving at near light speed. Our railguns can punch through? Chen asked. Better than that, Martinez said excitedly. Our antimatter-tipped penetrators should go right through their shields like they don't exist. Their energy barriers are designed to stop energy weapons, not physical projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. Chen absorbed this information while studying the tactical displays. What about their numbers? Surely they have more than one ship. Intelligence suggests the hegemony maintains small fleets throughout the galaxy, Wright explained. They've ruled through technological superiority for so long that they've never needed large numbers. Why build 1,000 ships when one is enough to destroy any opposition? Arrogance, Chen murmured. They assume no one can challenge them. Exactly. And that assumption is about to cost them everything. Chen turned to the communication station. What's the public situation? The technician pulled up news feeds from around the world. Protests filled the streets of major cities. Some demanded immediate surrender to save humanity. Others called for resistance regardless of the cost. Religious leaders proclaimed everything from the end times to humanity's ascension to the stars. The government is scheduled to announce Earth's decision in 72 hours, Wright reported. President Santos has been stalling, giving us time to position our forces. Alien reaction? They're growing impatient. Our listening posts have intercepted communications between the ambassador and what appears to be a larger fleet holding position at the edge of the solar system. They're planning to make an example of Earth to discourage resistance from other species. Chen felt her jaw tighten. How many ships? At least 50, possibly more. They're waiting for Earth's formal surrender before moving in to claim their prize. Then we'll give them exactly what they expect, Chen decided. Colonel, initiate Phase 1 of Operation Lazarus. I want all Black Fleet vessels in position within 24 hours. Admiral, Phase 1 involves revealing our existence to the President and key military leaders. Are you sure? Chen nodded grimly. It's time they knew the truth. Humanity isn't as helpless as we appear. As Wright began issuing orders, Chen reflected on the irony of their situation. For 15 years, humanity's brightest minds had worked in absolute secrecy to develop weapons and ships based on alien technology. They had built a fleet specifically designed to fight enemies with superior technology, never knowing when or if such an enemy would appear. Now that enemy was here, hanging in Earth's sky like a sword over humanity's neck. But what the aliens saw was a primitive species with disabled orbital defenses and no apparent means of resistance. They had no idea that scattered throughout the solar system, 200 warships waited in folded space, their crews trained for this exact scenario. "Martinez, what's the status on the special project?" Chen asked. The scientist's expression grew excited. "The quantum entanglement communication system is fully operational. Every Black Fleet vessel can coordinate instantaneously regardless of distance. When we strike, it will be with perfect synchronization. And our intelligence on hegemony fleet positions?" The derelict ship's navigation computer contained star charts that are still largely accurate. "We know the locations of their major bases, supply routes, and patrol patterns. They haven't changed their operational procedures in centuries." Chen smiled for the first time since the crisis began. Why would they? When you're the undisputed masters of the galaxy, innovation becomes unnecessary. "Admiral," Wright called out, "we're receiving a priority transmission from the surface. The aliens are demanding an immediate response to their ultimatum. They're threatening to demonstrate their power against a major population center if Earth doesn't respond within 12 hours. Chen's brief moment of satisfaction vanished. "They're accelerating the timeline." "It gets worse," Wright continued. "Long-range sensors show the hegemony fleet beginning to move toward Earth. They're not waiting for our surrender anymore." Chen studied the tactical display as red dots representing enemy ships began converging on the solar system. In 12 hours, the aliens would expect humanity to kneel. Instead, they would discover that their prey had teeth. "Signal all Black Fleet commanders," Chen ordered. "Operation Lazarus is now active. Phase 2 begins in 8 hours. As klaxons began sounding throughout the hidden facility, Chen looked up at the surface levels far above. Somewhere up there, President Santos was preparing to address the world, probably to announce humanity's surrender. But what Santos didn't know yet was that her admiral had been planning for this day for over a decade. The galactic hegemony had ruled through fear and superior technology for 50,000 years. Tomorrow, they would learn that evolution never stops, and that sometimes the prey becomes the predator. Captain Marcus Torres felt the familiar vibration through the deck plating as the UHS Retribution powered up its dark matter drive. Around him, the bridge crew of humanity's most advanced warship prepared for a battle that would determine the fate of their species. "All stations report ready." "Captain," announced Commander Lisa Park, his executive officer. Like Torres, she had been officially declared dead 2 years ago when the Black Fleet recruited her from the regular Navy. "Quantum sensors show 47 enemy vessels entering the solar system," reported Lieutenant Chen at the sensor station. "They're maintaining formation around the command ship." Torres studied the tactical display floating before his captain's chair. The alien fleet moved with the confidence of predators approaching helpless prey. Their ships were massive, each one larger than Earth's biggest space stations, bristling with energy weapons and protected by shields that had never been penetrated by conventional weapons. What they couldn't see were the 200 human ships positioned throughout the solar system, each one cloaked in folded space and waiting for the signal to attack. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Admiral Chen," the communications officer reported. The Admiral's face appeared on the main screen, broadcasting from the Lazarus Command Center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. "All Black Fleet vessels, this is Admiral Chen. The enemy has rejected our offer of peaceful withdrawal and is proceeding with their invasion. You are authorized to engage at will. Show them what happens when someone threatens humanity." Torres felt a savage grin spread across his face. "You heard the Admiral. All hands battle stations. Tactical. Bring us about to attack Vector 77 Alpha." The Retribution turned smoothly through space, its hull shifting from deep black to a color that seemed to absorb light itself. Around Jupiter's largest moon, 19 other Black Fleet vessels prepared for their part in the opening attack. "Enemy formation is approaching Mars orbit," Lieutenant Chen reported. "They're scanning the planet's surface," Torres nodded. The aliens were looking for human settlements to destroy, probably planning to eliminate a few million people as a demonstration of power before accepting Earth's surrender. They had no idea they were flying into the most carefully planned ambush in human history. "All ships prepare for decloak in 30 seconds, Torres announced over the fleet channel. "Remember, these ships have been bullying the galaxy for 50,000 years. Today we show them that evolution never stops." The countdown appeared on every screen. Torres watched the alien fleet continue its approach. Their ships spread out in a formation designed to maximize intimidation rather than defensive capability. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, decloak. Space around the alien fleet suddenly filled with human warships as 200 vessels dropped their cloaking fields simultaneously. The enemy formation, which had been alone in space moments before, now found itself surrounded by ships that appeared from nowhere. "All weapons fire," Torres commanded. The Retribution's main guns opened up with a sound like thunder. Antimatter-tipped projectiles accelerated to nearly the speed of light, streaked toward the nearest alien vessel. Around the solar system, every Black Fleet ship fired at the same instant, their quantum-entangled communication systems ensuring perfect coordination. The results were devastating. The aliens' energy shields, designed to stop plasma and particle beams, offered no protection against physical projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. Hull plating that had withstood the firepower of entire civilizations crumpled like paper under the impact of human kinetic weapons. "Direct hit on target Alpha," the weapons officer reported with satisfaction. "Their shields didn't even slow us down." On the main screen, Torres watched as a ship 3 times the size of Retribution shuddered under multiple impacts. Secondary explosions bloomed along its hull as the antimatter warheads detonated inside the vessel's structure. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the enemy flagship," the communications officer announced. Torres nodded. "Put it through." Ambassador Zethkari's crystalline form appeared on screen, but instead of the cold arrogance from their first meeting, the alien's entire body pulsed with chaotic light patterns that suggested shock and fear. "Impossible," the ambassador transmitted. "Your species has no warships. Our sensors detected no fleet." "Your sensors were looking for the wrong things," Torres replied calmly. "You expected us to use your technology. We built something better." Around them, the battle continued to rage. Human ships darted between the massive alien vessels like sharks attacking whales. The enemy's weapons fired desperately, but their energy beams were absorbed harmlessly by metamaterial hull coatings that had been specifically designed to counter such attacks. "Your technology is based on crystalline energy matrices," Torres continued, watching as another alien ship exploded under concentrated fire from 3 Black Fleet vessels. "Ours is based on dark matter manipulation and quantum mechanics. We're fighting with principles your civilization never discovered." Zethkari's form flickered with what might have been panic. "The hegemony will send more ships, thousands of them. You cannot stand against the combined might of 12 species. Then they'll die just like you're about to," Torres replied, cutting the transmission. "Target the command ship," he ordered his weapons officer. "Full-spread antimatter warheads." The Retribution's missiles streaked toward the alien flagship. Other Black Fleet vessels added their firepower to the assault, overwhelming the massive ship's defenses. The vessel that had hung over Earth like a dark omen for days began to break apart under the relentless bombardment. "Captain, several enemy ships are attempting to flee," Lieutenant Chen reported. "Pursue and destroy," Torres ordered without hesitation. "Admiral's orders are clear. No survivors to report back to the hegemony." The Black Fleet ships broke formation and gave chase. The human vessels were smaller and faster than their alien counterparts, built for speed and maneuverability, rather than intimidation. One by one, they ran down the fleeing enemy ships and destroyed them with precise targeting. "Last enemy vessel destroyed," Commander Park reported. "Total engagement time, 37 minutes. Torres leaned back in his captain's chair, surveying the debris field that had been a mighty alien fleet less than an hour ago. "Casualty report. 3 ships report minor damage from lucky hits," Lieutenant Chen announced. "No personnel casualties across the entire fleet." Torres nodded grimly. The first test of human technology against the galactic hegemony had been a complete success, but he knew this was just the beginning. Word of this defeat would spread throughout the galaxy, and the hegemony would respond with overwhelming force. "Communications, signal Admiral Chen. Tell her Phase 2 is complete and we're ready for Phase 3. As the Retribution began moving toward its next assignment, Torres reflected on the irony of their victory. The galactic hegemony had ruled through technological superiority for millennia, never imagining that a species could develop along completely different principles. They had become complacent, building their empire on energy-based technology while never exploring the possibilities of dark matter manipulation. Now that complacency would cost them everything. "Captain, we're receiving new orders from command," the communications officer announced. We're to proceed to the Proxima Centauri system and eliminate the hegemony garrison there. Torres smiled grimly. Set course for Proxima. It's time to take this war to their territory. As the Black Fleet ships engaged their dark matter drives and vanished into folded space, they left behind a debris field that would send shockwaves throughout the galaxy. The galactic hegemony's reign of terror was about to discover that humanity's favorite response to bullies was to hit back twice as hard. The hunt was just beginning. The emergency session of the Galactic Hegemony Council convened in the crystal chambers of Nexus Prime, the capital world that had governed 12 species for 50,000 years. For the first time in recorded history, the chamber's perfect harmony was broken by the sound of genuine fear. Archon Velthara of the Zephyrian Concordat paced nervously before the assembled representatives, her metallic wings creating discordant chimes as they struck her crystalline body. The human fleet appeared from nowhere. She transmitted to the collective consciousness. Our most advanced sensors detected nothing until they opened fire. Impossible, declared Overlord Kazthul of the Hegemony Defense Corps, his massive bulk shifting uneasily. No species has developed stealth technology beyond our detection capabilities. Tell that to the 47 ships that were destroyed in 37 minutes, Velthara replied sharply. Tell that to the 3 garrison fleets that have been eliminated in the past week. High Curator Sindara raised her crystalline form from its meditation platform. As the eldest member of the Council and keeper of the Hegemony's historical records, her words carried absolute authority. In 50 millennia, only 17 species have chosen extinction over submission. None possess the capability to threaten our forces. These humans are different, Velthara insisted. Their technology operates on principles we don't understand. Our energy weapons are useless against their ships. The chamber fell silent as each representative absorbed this impossible information. The Galactic Hegemony had built its empire on technological superiority, ruling through the absolute certainty that no species could challenge their advanced energy-based weapons and crystalline matrix shields. What do we know about their capabilities? Sindara asked. Admiral Tethkron of the Veltar fleet materialized in the center of the chamber, his form flickering with the strain of long-distance projection. They possess faster-than-light travel that leaves no detectable wake. Their ships can cloak themselves in ways our sensors cannot penetrate. Most disturbing, their weapons appear to be kinetic rather than energy-based. Kinetic weapons are primitive, scoffed Overlord Kazthul. No civilization advances beyond simple projectiles. These projectiles move at nearly the speed of light and carry antimatter warheads, Tethkron replied grimly. They penetrate our shields as if they don't exist. The revelation sent ripples of shock through the chamber. Hegemony shields had never been breached by kinetic weapons. The very idea was considered theoretically impossible. How many ships do they possess? Sindara demanded. Unknown. They strike without warning, destroy everything of military value, and vanish before reinforcements arrive. We estimate at least 200 vessels based on the coordinated nature of their attacks. Velthara's wings chimed frantically. They've already hit supply depots in 3 systems. Our subject species are beginning to question our invincibility. This was the greatest fear of any empire built on intimidation. Once subject species realized their masters could be defeated, rebellion became inevitable. The hegemony's control depended on the absolute belief that resistance was futile. Recommendations? Sindara asked the assembled council. Negotiate, Velthara said immediately. Offer them equal status among the ruling species. Grant them territory and subject worlds of their own. The hegemony does not negotiate with primitives, Kazthul declared. We crush them with overwhelming force. With what force? Tethkron interjected. They've destroyed every fleet we've sent against them. Our ships can't even target them effectively. Sindara raised her form higher, commanding absolute attention. Admiral, transmit an offer of negotiation to the human leadership. Offer them membership in the ruling council and territorial concessions. Meanwhile, billions of light years away, Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the Lazarus Command Center watching real-time reports from across the galaxy. The Black Fleet's campaign was exceeding all expectations. Proxima Centauri garrison eliminated, Colonel Wright reported. No survivors, no distress signals sent. Wolf 359, supply depot destroyed, announced another technician. Captain Rodriguez reports the enemy never detected his squadron. Kepler 442 listening post neutralized, came a third report. The machine intelligence station there attempted to surrender. Captain Martinez followed protocol and destroyed it anyway. Chen nodded approvingly. The Black Fleet's orders were clear. No mercy, no survivors, no negotiation. The Galactic Hegemony had offered humanity two choices, slavery or extinction. Now they would learn that humans always found a third option. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Hegemony leadership, the communications officer announced. They're requesting immediate negotiations. Chen studied the message on her screen. The mighty Galactic Hegemony, rulers of the galaxy for 50,000 years, were asking to talk. A week ago, they had demanded humanity's submission. Now they wanted to negotiate. Response? Wright asked. Chen thought of every species that had been forced to kneel before the hegemony's arrogance. She thought of the 17 civilizations that had chosen extinction rather than slavery. She thought of humanity's children, who would grow up either free or in chains depending on what happened in the next few days. Send this message to every hegemony world simultaneously, she ordered. We don't negotiate with tyrants. Your empire ends now. Any attempt to maintain the old order will be met with immediate destruction. You have 24 hours to begin releasing all subject species and dismantling your military forces. This is your only warning. The communications officer looked shocked. Admiral, you're essentially declaring war on the entire galaxy. No, Chen replied calmly. I'm declaring war on an empire that's held the galaxy hostage for 50 millennia. There's a difference. Back in the crystal chambers, the Hegemony Council received humanity's response with stunned disbelief. They refused to negotiate, Velthara reported, her form flickering with panic. They demand we dismantle the entire hegemony. Impossible, Kazthul roared. No single species can challenge 12 civilizations. This single species just destroyed 10% of our total military forces in 1 week, Tethakran reminded him. Their message was broadcast to every world in hegemony space. Our subject species are already beginning to rebel. Sindara processed this information with the calculated precision of 50,000 years of experience. Then we end this quickly. Summon the Grand Fleet to Nexus Prime. Every ship, every weapon, every defensive system we possess. If these humans want a war, we'll give them annihilation. High Curator, Velthara protested. The Grand Fleet hasn't been assembled since the Andromedan War 20,000 years ago. Surely we can find another solution? There is no other solution, Sindara declared. Either we crush this rebellion completely or our empire falls. There is no middle ground. As the Council dispersed to implement the most massive military mobilization in galactic history, none of them noticed the small quantum probe that had been observing their meeting from folded space. The device transmitted its intelligence back to the Lazarus Command Center, where Admiral Chen smiled grimly as she watched the enemy's response. They're gathering everything they have at Nexus Prime, Wright observed, studying the intelligence data. Every ship, every defense platform, every weapon in their arsenal. Perfect, Chen replied. Signal all Black Fleet commanders. Phase 4 begins immediately. It's time to end this war. The hunt was about to become a slaughter, and the Galactic Hegemony had just made themselves the perfect target. Nexus Prime had never hosted such a massive gathering of warships. The capital system of the Galactic Hegemony now contained over 3,000 vessels representing the combined military might of 12 civilizations. Ancient orbital fortresses that had protected the seat of galactic power for millennia powered up weapons that could crack planets. Energy barriers strong enough to stop entire fleets shimmered between the defensive platforms. High Curator Sindara stood in the command center of the central fortress, surrounded by holographic displays showing the most formidable defensive array ever assembled. After 50,000 years of ruling through intimidation, the hegemony had finally been forced to show its true strength. All fleets report ready, Admiral Tethkran announced. Every major warship in hegemony space is now positioned for the defense of Nexus Prime. Detection grid status? Sindara asked. Maximum sensitivity. We've modified our sensors to detect gravitational anomalies, quantum fluctuations, and dimensional distortions. If the human ships attempt to use their stealth technology, we'll see them coming. Sindara felt a moment of satisfaction. Let the primitive humans come. They might have won a few skirmishes against unprepared garrisons, but now they faced the full might of an empire that had conquered the galaxy. No force in known space could penetrate the defenses of Nexus Prime. High Curator, Tethkran said, studying his tactical displays. Our subject species across the galaxy are monitoring this confrontation. If we demonstrate overwhelming victory here, it will crush any thoughts of rebellion. When we destroy the human fleet, we'll broadcast it to every world in our territory, Sindara agreed. Let all species see what happens to those who challenge the hegemony. Light years away, the Black Fleet assembled in the empty space between galaxies. 200 human warships hung motionless in the cosmic void, their crews making final preparations for humanity's greatest battle. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, the UHS Prometheus, studying the intelligence data from their quantum probes. The enemy had gathered everything they possessed at Nexus Prime, creating exactly the target she had hoped for. All ship commanders, this is Admiral Chen, she broadcast to the fleet. In a few hours, we're going to end 50,000 years of tyranny. The enemy expects us to attack their fortress system directly. Instead, we're going to give them something they've never seen before. Captain Torres, commanding the Retribution, leaned forward in his chair. What are your orders, Admiral? We're not just going to defeat them, Chen replied. We're going to make their defeat so complete, so absolute, that no one will ever again think about rebuilding their empire. Prepare for Operation Prometheus. Operation Prometheus was humanity's most closely guarded secret, a tactic made possible only by their unique dark matter technology. Instead of attacking the heavily defended Nexus Prime directly, the Black Fleet would use controlled singularities to collapse the space around the enemy formation, trapping the entire hegemony fleet in a quantum prison before destroying them at leisure. All ships, begin dark matter charge sequence, Chen ordered. We go in 60 seconds. Across the human fleet, exotic matter reactors began building up the massive energy charges needed to manipulate space-time itself. The technology was dangerous, requiring perfect coordination to avoid creating a black hole that would consume everything in the system. Admiral, long-range sensors are detecting movement in the Nexus Prime system, the sensor officer reported. The enemy fleet is advancing to intercept us. Let them come, Chen replied calmly. Time to final charge? 30 seconds and counting. In the Nexus Prime system, Admiral Tethacran watched his sensors with growing confusion. I'm detecting massive gravitational distortions at the edge of the system, but no ships. Human stealth technology, Sindara decided. All weapons, target the gravitational anomalies and fire. The combined firepower of 3,000 ships lanced out toward the distortions, energy beams powerful enough to destroy continents. But the weapon struck nothing but empty space. No effect, Tethacran reported. The distortions are growing stronger. Suddenly, space itself began to bend around the hegemony fleet. Stars disappeared from view as the fabric of reality twisted into impossible shapes. The massive alien vessels found themselves trapped in a bubble of compressed space-time, their engines unable to move them beyond the quantum barrier surrounding them. What's happening? Sindara demanded. Unknown, Tethacran replied, his form flickering with panic. Space-time is collapsing around us. Our ships are trapped. That's when the Black Fleet revealed itself. 200 human warships materialized outside the quantum prison, their weapons already charged and targeting the helpless enemy vessels. This is Admiral Chen of the human Black Fleet. Her voice broadcast throughout the Nexus system. For 50,000 years, your empire has held the galaxy in chains. Today, those chains are broken. The slaughter began immediately. Human kinetic weapons fired from outside the space-time barrier passed through the quantum field as if it didn't exist, while the enemy's energy weapons remained trapped inside. One by one, the most powerful warships in galactic history died under the relentless bombardment. High Curator, Tethacran pleaded, we must surrender. Request immediate ceasefire negotiations. The hegemony does not surrender, Sindara declared, but her form was flickering with fear. Then the hegemony dies, Chen replied, having heard the transmission. Continue firing. No survivors. The massacre continued for 3 hours. When it was over, the space around Nexus Prime was filled with debris that had once been the mightiest fleet ever assembled. The orbital fortresses, trapped in the same quantum prison as the ships, had been systematically destroyed by weapons they couldn't return fire against. Final phase, Chen ordered. Target the planetary defense grid. The last remaining stronghold of hegemony power crumbled under the assault. Defensive platforms that had protected the capital for millennia exploded in brilliant fireballs. The shield generators maintaining the planet's energy barriers overloaded and died. When silence finally fell over the Nexus system, Admiral Chen opened a communication channel that broadcast to every world in the galaxy. "People of the galaxy," she began, her image appearing on billions of screens across thousands of worlds. "For 50,000 years you have lived under the tyranny of the galactic hegemony. You have been forced to kneel, to serve, to surrender your freedom to alien masters who claimed to be your superiors." The camera pulled back to show the debris field that had been the hegemony's grand fleet. "That age is over. The hegemony is destroyed. Their fleets are scattered. Their leaders are dead. You are free." Across the galaxy, the response was immediate. On world after world, subject species rose up against their hegemony overseers. The rebellion that had been simmering for millennia finally exploded into open revolt. However, Chen continued, her voice taking on a harder edge. "Freedom comes with responsibility. Humanity will not become the new tyrants of this galaxy. We offer protection to those who need it and friendship to those who want it. But understand this. Any species that attempts to rebuild the old system of oppression will face the same fate as the hegemony. The Black Fleet will patrol the galaxy, ensuring that no one ever again forces another to kneel. This is not a threat, it is a promise. The Age of Empires is over. The Age of Freedom has begun." As the transmission ended, Captain Torres contacted the Admiral. "Orders, ma'am?" Chen looked out at the debris field where an empire had died. "Signal the fleet. We have a galaxy to liberate." The Black Fleet dispersed throughout known space, each ship carrying the same message to every world they visited. The galactic hegemony was gone. The age of forced submission was over. Humanity had kept its promise. They had knelt to no one, and now no one would be forced to kneel again. In the years that followed, historians would mark the Battle of Nexus Prime as the moment when galactic civilization truly began. Not the civilization of the strong ruling the weak, but a civilization where species stood together as equals under the protection of humanity's Black Fleet. The galaxy had learned that when bullies demanded submission, sometimes the best response was overwhelming firepower delivered with extreme precision. The hegemony had asked humanity to kneel. Humanity had responded with fire, and in that fire a new and better galaxy had been born.